The cafe was quiet that rainy evening, except for the faint sound of raindrops sliding down the glass and the rhythmic ticking of an old clock hanging on the wall. Among the dim yellow lights and half-empty tables, a young waitress moved with silent grace, her steps soft but heavy, as if carrying burdens no one else could see. She was supposed to greet every customer with a smile, but tonight, her eyes were red, her lips trembling, and her hands shook every time she picked up a tray. She tried to hide it, but her pain was louder than her silence. She kept her head bowed, avoiding eye contact, but the moment she turned away from the counter, a single tear slipped down her cheek. It wasn't just exhaustion, it was heartbreak. The kind that crushes a soul so deeply it leaks through in unguarded moments, no matter how hard someone tries to mask it. And that night someone noticed. Someone who was never supposed to be there, never supposed to sit at that corner table at such a humble cafe. He was a man people only read about in newspapers, whose life was surrounded by flashing cameras and billion-dollar deals. His presence alone felt out of place in the modest little coffee shop. But fate had brought him there, and fate had also led his sharp, observant eyes straight to the trembling young waitress who tried to carry the world on her fragile shoulders. Before I continue, if you believe in kindness, compassion, and the power of second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Your support helps us continue sharing real, heart-touching stories that remind the world kindness still exists. The waitress's name was Clara. She was only 22, but life had not given her the luxury of youth. She worked double shifts at the cafe just to pay off medical bills and support her younger brother, who was still in school. Their parents had passed away years ago, leaving her with responsibilities that no teenager should ever have to bear. Since then, she had lived in survival mode, sacrificing her dreams, her comfort, and even her happiness just so her brother could have a chance at a better future. That day had been especially cruel. Clara's manager had scolded her harshly in front of customers for something she hadn't done, accusing her of dropping an order that another waitress had misplaced. She didn't argue, she couldn't. She needed this job. Moments later, her phone buzzed with a message from her landlord, threatening eviction if rent wasn't paid by the end of the week. And just hours before her shift began, her brother had called her in tears, saying his classmates mocked him for not being able to afford basic things. Each wound cut deeper, but Clara swallowed the pain until her soul felt numb. Yet even in her silence, her sadness spoke loudly. The billionaire at the corner table, Adrian Cole, CEO of one of the largest tech corporations in the country, watched her closely. He had seen people fake smiles for business, for politics, for fame. He knew how to read faces. And Clara's face was one of the rawest truths he had ever seen. Behind her forced politeness, her eyes told a story of resilience, struggle, and quiet suffering. Something inside him stirred, a strange pull he hadn't felt in years. Adrian wasn't a man easily moved. Success had hardened him, betrayal had made him cautious, and the relentless chase for power had left him cold. But for reasons he couldn't explain, watching that fragile young woman silently cry while trying to serve strangers broke through walls he didn't even know were still standing inside him. He ordered a coffee, but more than the drink, he wanted a chance to speak to her. When Clara approached his table, she kept her gaze lowered, her voice soft, almost a whisper. Her hands trembled as she placed the cup in front of him, and another tear escaped despite her desperate attempt to hold it back. Adrian's deep voice cut through the air, firm but gentle, startling her into stillness. He said only 5 words. "Who hurt you, young lady?" Clara froze. Nobody had asked her that before, not like that, not with genuine concern. People usually told her to toughen up, to work harder, to stop complaining. She had forgotten what it felt like to be asked about her pain, as if it mattered. For a moment, she couldn't answer. The cafe seemed to fade away, the noise, the lights, the clock, all gone, leaving just the weight of that question hanging between them. Adrian didn't press her. He simply looked at her with a softness she didn't expect from a man like him. That single act of kindness cracked something inside Clara, and before she knew it, silent sobs escaped her. She turned away quickly, embarrassed, rushing back to the counter to compose herself. But her mask had already shattered, and Adrian had seen more than she wanted anyone to. The rest of the night, he stayed there, quietly observing. Clara continued working, pretending nothing had happened, but every time their eyes met, she felt a strange warmth, a reminder that someone had seen her, really seen her. When his bill came, Adrian left a tip so generous she thought it was a mistake. But along with the money, he left a note scribbled on the receipt. "You don't deserve this pain. Don't give up. Better days are coming." Clara folded the note carefully, holding it to her chest like a secret. For the first time in a long time, she felt a flicker of hope. She didn't know who he really was, not yet, but that moment planted a seed in her heart. Days turned into weeks, and Adrian returned again and again. Each time, he sat at the same table, quietly ordering coffee or a simple meal. Each time, he left a note of encouragement. He didn't pry into her life, didn't overwhelm her with questions, he simply reminded her that she wasn't invisible, that someone cared. Slowly, Clara began to open up, piece by piece. She told him about her brother, about the struggles of working endless shifts, about her fear of losing everything. And he listened, truly listened, in a way nobody ever had before. Behind his tailored suits and powerful aura, Adrian carried his own scars. He knew what it meant to be abandoned, to feel like no one was coming to save you. That was why he worked so hard to build an empire, not just for wealth, but to prove he was worthy. Pain may break us, but kindness has the power to rebuild us all.